Hello everyone, welcome to Soar the Sky. Today our topic is light. We will learn about each and every aspect of light and its application. So without further delay, let's get started. So basically the key points that we get to see here is first the form of energy and second to see things. So light is a form of energy. So basically apart from sound, electricity, light is also another form of energy that help us to see things. Now to see things. How do we see things? You people are being able to see me because there is light all around me. If by chance the light wouldn't have been here, you won't be able to see me. Now, how do we get to see light? Light is an energy, so we can't just make it and show it, right? So basically, the sources of light can be both natural and artificial. If we talk about the natural sources of light, we can see the sun gives us light, the other stars gives us light, the fires give us light. These are the natural sources of light. Now when we come to the artificial sources of light, they are the man-made electric lights. Both of them more or less serve the same purpose of enabling us to see or perceive various types of things. Luminous and illuminated object. That is the next topic that we are going to learn about light. First topic is luminous object. Now what are luminous objects? The objects that emit light by themselves are called luminous objects. Now this is the definition. Again, if you want to make a note of it, just pause your screen and do that. So what do we understand by this particular definition? That objects that emit light by themselves. They are the objects from which light comes out naturally. So they are called luminous objects. The examples of such objects would be sun, if that's a natural source of light, torch light, the torches that we use, the battery torches, candlestick, whenever we require to light up a candle, that can be a luminous object too because that emits light by itself. The next topic is illuminated objects. Now what are illuminated objects? The objects that can be seen when light falls on them. So what is the main point to be taken note of over here? Can be seen when light falls on them. This is a very vital thing. These objects are called illuminated objects. For example, moon, planets, boat, etc. Basically anything that we are being able to see are because of light falling on them. So we can call any object as illuminated object. The difference between sun or any other star with the planets, be it Earth, Mars or any other planet in the solar system and beyond that, will be categorized as luminous objects, the former, and illuminated objects, the later part. Now let's understand that what are the types of medium that we can see in our day-to-day life. First is transparent medium. Now we all know the word transparent, through which we can see anything and everything. Example, glass, the plain glass I'm talking about, water, air, etc. Next is translucent, where we can see things, through which we can see things partially, not fully. In the transparent medium, through the transparent medium, we are being able to see anything and everything absolutely clear. But through translucent translucent medium, things are not visible clearly. We get to see a partial view of the things. The examples can be rubbed glass, butter paper, ground glass. Light cannot fully pass through these kind of medium as compared to the transparent medium. Last but not the least, the third type of medium called opaque medium, which is a medium which doesn't allow light at all to pass through it, which blocks each and every ray of light that is coming towards it. For example, the concrete slabs, wood, metal, anything that does not allow light to pass through it is an opaque medium. Now, here comes the definition of the mediums. First, transparent medium. I have already told any medium that allows light rays to completely pass through it is called a transparent medium. Here, the key point to note down is allowing light rays to completely pass through it. So, this is the definition. You can again pause the screen and just take down a note of it. The second medium. The second medium is translucent medium. Translucent medium is any medium that partially allows light rays to pass through it. The third and the last of the mediums is the opaque medium. Now, the word opaque means not allowing any light or darkness. So, the definition is a medium that doesn't allow any light ray to pass through it is called an opaque medium. Now, I would like to say something really very important. Light is one of the most fundamental topics in physics that starts from class 6, and if you continue with your science after class 10 board exams, it will continue till class 12 and even further as you wish it. So, I would request you earnestly not to skip this video, watch it completely so that you can clear all your doubts regarding the basics of light, and the basics of the light chapter is absolutely clear to you. When we started this chapter, we were discussing about how we were being able to see things, how light enables us to see various things all around us. Now, here, that basic question appears again. How do we see things with the help of light? When light rays fall on any particular object and gets reflected, and then the reflected rays reach our eyes, then we are being able to see that object. Here in this diagram, I'm trying to explain how the entire process works. Okay, say for example, this is a table or a book. You can call it whatever you want. This book, when incident ray of light, that is any ray of light, incident means any ray of light falling on an object. Any ray of light falling on an object is an incident ray of light. When this ray of light is falling on this book and then it gets reflected back to this eye, this is the eye of anyone who's trying to see, then we are being able to see this book. This occurs for each and every object that we are being able to see. It can be due to the natural light or due to the artificial lights that are being created. What is reflection? Just now we learned that light after reflection reaches to our eye and then we are being able to see any particular object. Now, what is this reflection? Reflection of light is nothing but when a ray of light falls on an object and bounces off to a direction. Now, the most important thing to be taken down over here is bouncing off to a direction. Falling on an object and then bouncing off to a particular direction. This phenomenon of light helps us to see various objects. They occur more freely on shiny, polished surfaces. Again, this is another point. If the surface on which the ray of light is falling and then bouncing off is shiny and polished, the process will be way smoother. You remember I taught you about the transparent, the translucent and the opaque medium. Now, the reflection of light occurs best if the medium is opaque in nature. Plain mirror, any shiny object, especially if they're opaque in nature, not allowing even a single ray of light to pass through them, will be extremely helpful for the process of reflection to be carrying out. What are the various types of reflection of light? There are basically two types. First is regular or specular reflection. The second one is irregular or diffused reflection. Let's come to the first one. What is regular or specular reflection? When light rays fall on smooth surfaces, and then gets reflected, it is called regular reflection. For example, smooth surface of a plane mirror. When light rays fall on the smooth surface of a plane mirror, they get reflected and we are being able to see our images on that plane mirror, right? That is one example of regular reflection, and this is the diagram that will be required when this question will be asked in the question paper. So I would request all of you to just pause the screen, note down the definition as well as draw this diagram. Here this black rays constitute the incident light rays that is falling on this particular smooth and polished surface. This is straight and smooth without any irregularities. That's why the reflection is called a regular reflection. And the red rays, these are the reflected rays which are going out after falling on this object. Irregular or diffuse reflection. What is it? When rays of light fall on any rough irregular surface, they reflect haphazardly. There is no regular reflection, so they'll reflect haphazardly at any direction they want, not following any fixed path. This type of reflection is called irregular reflection. Now the examples would be flowing water, broken or rubbed glass, etc. Now why flowing water? Now if you want to see your image reflection on a water that is not still, which is flowing in waves, you won't be able to see the reflection of yourself in a fixed place, at a particular fixed place. It will always shift, it will always move. So that is because of the irregular reflection that occurs. Next is broken or rubbed glass. Again, if as compared to the plain mirror or normal mirror, if we use a broken or a rubbed glass, what happens is the rays of light which are falling on that won't be able to move as smoothly as they can in a plain mirror. Okay, so this is the definition and the examples, and this is your diagram. In the diagram you can see this is an irregular surface which has many ups and downs over here. So the incident rays of light which are falling here, they're not following any particular path, but they're just going due to the irregularity on the object itself. They're just following whatever path that is being followed due to this object. So this is the diagram, this is the definition. Laws of reflection of light. Reflection of light follows two basic laws. First is the incident ray, the normal and the reflected ray all lie on the same plane at the point of incidence. Now the keywords are all the three rays lying on the same plane and where the position is at the point of incidence. The second law is the angle of incidence is always equal to the angle of reflection, that is angle I is equal to angle R. Now if we follow this diagram, we will be able to understand this in a better way. So first, if we can see, this is the surface. Okay, so this is one plane and this is another plane. The entire process is happening on this one plane only. As the first law suggests, the incident ray, the reflected ray and the normal, all of them are lying on the same plane, and at this particular point they are hitting and going from here only. That is, one is incident ray is hitting on the point of incidence and then getting reflected back as reflected ray. Here the angle of incidence is denoted by the small I and the angle of reflection is denoted by small r. Angle I will always be equal to angle R, always, all the time. So these are the two laws. Pause the screen, note down the two laws and please draw this diagram, because without this diagram, this laws won't hold true. Even if you write both the laws clearly together, if you do not draw this diagram, your teacher might deduct half or 1 mark, as she said. Now, if you have liked our video so far, I would request all of you to hit the like button. Now, as we have learned about the laws of reflection, next that we have to learn over here are the factors on which this process of reflection depends upon. This is very easy to understand. First is the angle of incidence. Obviously, if we can see in a particular on a particular surface, if this is the normal, by the way, normal is nothing but a virtual perpendicular that we draw for our reference. Okay, now if any light is coming through the normal like this, if it's at an angle of 90 degree with the surface, then it will always retrace back its path. This is also another thing that I have forgotten to tell you in the laws of reflection. This is nothing but if a particular ray of light is falling normally on an object. Alright, so normally means at an angle of 90 degree. So if it's falling like this, when after reflection, it will go back in this path only, because this is the normal and this itself is the incident ray. So the angle of incidence is 0. Similarly, as we know, as the laws of reflections tell us, so angle of incidence is 0. So obviously the angle of reflection will also be 0, as both of them are equal. So if any incident ray of light is coming at an angle of, making an angle of 90 degree with the surface, then the reflected ray will be retracing back its path. So there's that. Now let's come back to the factors on which the reflection of light depends upon. Now if we can see that the incident ray of light, it is having a particular angle with this normal, that is the 90 degree line, and according to the angle that the incident ray of light is making with this normal, the reflected ray will form. So R will always be dependent on I. If I increases, then R will also increase. So angle of incidence and angle of reflection are directly proportional to each other. This is again a very important thing. You can pause your screen and note it down. The second factor, nature of the reflecting surface. Again, on the types of reflection, I have told you that reflection can be of two types, regular and irregular. What differentiates one from the other is the nature of the reflecting surface. If the surface is smooth, shiny, it will have a regular reflection and the reflected rays will follow accordingly. Now if the surface is rough, uneven, irregular, then the reflected rays will not follow this rule, that is angle of incidence is equal to the angle of reflection. I mean, they will follow, but not as we can see on the regular objects. The second point of the factors is the nature of the reflecting surface. As I have already taught you, there are two types of reflection, the regular reflection and the irregular reflection. Regular reflection occurs when the reflecting surface is smooth, shiny, and the reflected ray is bouncing off very easily, as you can see. Now if the surface is irregular, uneven, it won't be able to do so. So the reflecting ray will also depend upon the kind of the surface it's coming out from. So my dear students, if you have liked this video, please subscribe to our channel, hit the bell icon so you never miss any notification from us, and share it with all your friends so that they also may get benefited like you are. The next topic is image. Now what is an image? When light rays emitting or coming out from an object after reflection meets or appear to meet, an image is formed. It is an impression of the object that is created by the reflection of light. For example, if we stand in front of a mirror, we get to see the image of our own selves. It's exactly an impression of our own self. So we can also say that image is an impression of the object. So this is the definition. Pause your screen and you know the drill. And here I'll also explain you how it works. Now this is an object AB. These are the first two rays of light are the incident rays of light, which are hitting on two different positions on the object, right? So first ray hitting here is reflecting back to this position. The second ray hitting at B is getting reflected back to this position. Now see, the top part, that is A, has gone to the down. It has turned upside down. And this lower part, that is B, has gone to the top part, that is B dash. So AB has turned into A dash B dash, the image, and this image is inverted and smaller. So image can be of various types as well as we go further into the depth of it. There are various kinds of image, they have different properties, they have different characteristics. We'll learn all about it. We have already learned about the definition of an image, and now we know what an image is. There are various types and categories of images. The first one is real image. Now, as the name suggests, real, what do we see in this particular definition? A real image forms when incident rays of light after reflection converge or actually meet at a point. So, the keywords in this particular definition is after reflection, converge, or actually meet at a point. Actually meet at a point, that means forming a real image. Here as example I have drawn this diagram so that you can understand this in a better way. This is a mirror. It's a reflecting surface. You can take any reflecting surface which will reflect the incident rays of light. Here I have put an object. Let's name this as AB. The object is AB. Now, when incident rays of light after falling on the object, it goes towards the reflecting surface, hits the reflecting surface, and then coming here. This another incident ray of light. I've just taken two of the rays. Mind you, there are innumerable amount of rays which can be passing through the object to the reflecting surface. So this is another incident ray of light which is after reaching the reflecting surface going like this. So the object which we see AB, when it is forming an image, it's becoming A dash and B dash. So AB is your object. After reflection, forming a real image called A dash and B dash. Next, we will learn about the characteristics and the properties of real image. Now, this is the definition and the diagram for real image. What are the characteristics of a real image? The first and the most important characteristic is real images are always inverted in nature. They will never be upright as we see our images. They will be like inverted image all the time. So this is the main point, always inverted in nature. The second point is real images can be taken on a screen. I'll come back to this point a bit later. The third point is incident rays actually meet to form a real image. This was already being told in the definition of a real image that incident ray after reflection actually needs to form a real image. So this is again another characteristic. So coming back to the second point, I'll help you to understand this second point with the help of a very easy example which you can relate to with our day-to-day life. In a movie hall, we are able to see all the actors, the actresses and everything on a screen, on a movie screen. So those images are real images. Now you'll ask me obvious question that if a real image is always inverted in nature, then how are we being able to see the actors and the actresses upright, straight, not inverted? That answer is also very simple. First of all, when the shooting is done, the inverted images are being caught on the camera, and then when they're again projected on the screen, they go through another sort of reflection. So if it is like this and it's again getting reflected, it will become this because the inversion of this is this. Firstly, the object stays like this. For the first set of reflection, it becomes inverted like this. On the second phase of reflection, when the object is like this now, it will become this in the final image. So this is how we are being able to see the actors, actresses and everything else on a movie screen upright and not inverted. The next type of image is virtual image. What is a virtual image? Virtual images form when incident rays of light after reflection appear to meet without actually meeting. So this is first of all virtual, not real. So the key point is appear to meet without actually meeting. After reflection, they appear to meet. Here is the ray diagram how a virtual image forms. You can see the object is here. Just like the diagram for real images, I have also taken here two incident rays of light which are hitting the reflecting surface. It can be mirror or anything, and then they are actually reflecting in this path. This is the reflection that they are having. This is the incident ray, this is the actually reflected ray, and here also the actual reflected ray is this. But if somebody looks from here at the back of this reflecting surface and these reflected rays are produced backwards, they appear to meet at this particular point. This reflected ray has been produced backward and this reflected ray has been produced backward. Both of them, after producing backward, forms an image over here without even actually meeting. They look like they have met, but they don't meet in real. The image form is A dash B dash from the object AB. What are the properties or characteristics of virtual images? The first one is virtual images are always erect and upright, as I have already explained to you. The second point is they cannot be taken on screens as compared to the real images that we have just learned about. The third point is incident rays only appear to meet to form virtual images. This point we also have learned in the definition of the virtual images. So there are very easy 3 quick pointers on the characteristics of virtual images. Now I'll give you an example about it. It's a very easy example so that you can relate to it very well. Reflection on a plane mirror will always produce a virtual image. Whenever we stand in front of a plane mirror inside our house or anywhere else possible, we get to see an upright and erect image of us. Sometimes our right hand looks like the left hand and the left hand looks like a right hand. That is called lateral inversion. That is some other point which we will cover some other day. But that image is a virtual image as it's always upright and erect. It's of our same size also. So virtual images are erect, upright in nature. Dear student, type all your doubts in the comment section below. I'll try to answer each and every one of them. between the real image and the virtual image? A very common question, and it always comes in the examination. So I would rather suggest you to pay attention. Here, real image and virtual image, the first point of difference. What is it? As we know from the definition already and the characteristics, that real images are inverted in nature. And on the other hand, the virtual images, they are erect in nature. The second point, real images are formed on a separate screen. Whenever we are obtaining a real image, we can see that on a separate screen. But on the other hand, virtual images appear to be on the lens or mirror itself, be it lens, mirror or any reflecting surface where the virtual image is forming. It's happening on itself. It's not being there on a screen. Okay, so next, the third point, real images are formed due to the actual intersection of rays. Again, we know about this. And virtual images are formed due to the imaginary intersection of rays, because as we already know, the rays appear to meet at the back of the reflecting surface, unlike the real images which are forming due to the actual intersection of the incident rays of light. Now, as you can see in the diagram given over here, the real and the virtual images, what are the characteristics, we read about them, and the difference points that we have just understood, those are given in the diagram. You can very well see. In the case of real image, the rays are actually meeting, and in the case of virtual image, they are appearing to meet. And last but not the least, these are the examples that you can note down for real image and for virtual image. So this is the end of the first part of the 4-part series video of light. I would request to all of you to watch all the videos coming up, the second, the third and the fourth, so that you can understand the entire chapter of light without any difficulty. Thank you.